Welcome back everyone to Mona's Take. I am your host monadrose, and we are here to talk about everything reality TV. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything I've got coming up. I'm going to skip the introduction today. We've got a lot to cover. This is just the feeds from this morning. Last night pretty much covered it up until the end of last night. So the feeds start back this morning with us getting the backyard feeds back, which was a plus. And it shows Terrence and Joseph working out in the yard. And then as soon as they get done working out, the one-on-ones start. The feeds go back inside for a minute, and it shows the house guests getting woken up inside. And I actually heard an announcement this morning that I've never heard. Usually it's the nice wakey house guest, or house guest must be up between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Or they'll say, after they do the wakey thing, they'll say house guests, there are fresh batteries in the storage room. And then they'll start naming names of the ones that aren't getting up. There are fresh batteries in the storage room. Well, this morning, it was a very aggressive announcement. And it said, Monty, Taylor, Jasmine, what do you not understand about Wake Up? I was like, whoa. Like, never heard that before. And then a couple of minutes went by. And it was, Monty, Taylor, what do you not understand about Wake Up? And then it went to Taylor. But it was a very aggressive announcement. Like, I don't know if they are getting tired of having trouble waking them up or trying to get them back into the swing of things once everybody gets back in the house. Because they've kind of been lax this week on the feeds on letting them nap, which they don't normally do until it gets towards the end. But it was very aggressive. Joseph has his one-on-ones with Terrence. He says that Kyle told a lot of truth, but in that truth, he sprinkled a lot of lies. Joseph told Terrence that him learning about old school through a mirror was a lie, and that he learned it from Kyle. And that is true. He did learn it from Kyle. Alyssa told Kyle about that alliance as well as the old school. Both of those Alyssa told him after she had been drinking. He said he confronted Kyle about it, and Kyle kind of laughed at him and said, dude, it's just game. Joseph said, every conversation I've had with Alyssa, it goes back to Kyle. And Terrence says, don't falter for that. At this point in the game, we have to fact check everything that comes to us. So I don't blame her for taking stuff back to Kyle. If you're telling her stuff about Kyle, she needs to fact check it. She needs to confront Kyle and ask Kyle about it. Joseph says that Brittany and Taylor and Michael would most likely vote out Monty, especially if they think he's not coming back. He said, or they could stick to the plan and vote out Jasmine. So it's like Joseph always plays the either or, so that he's not locked into one statement. He said Kyle is going to protect himself and then Alyssa. He says he will pawn himself next week so that Alyssa and Terrence don't go on the block. He tells him that he will help him get to the end because he deserves to be at the end more than Joseph does. This is just not adding up. You don't tell somebody, oh, I'm going to help you get to the end because you deserve it so much more than I do. Joseph is grasping at straws. I would do the same. He knows his game's over. He is throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. I don't blame him. I would pull out all the stops as well. He said if Kyle goes, that Alyssa would be closer to Terrence because then Terrence would be the one that she goes to for all of her information and to talk game and all that because Kyle wouldn't be there. He tells Terrence, if you go on the block and I win the veto, I'll use the veto to pull you off the block. And I'll even go as far to throw the veto competition to you so that you know I'm serious. He said there's a chance that when we go back into the house that Big Brother is going to make us play teams. So they're thinking that this split is going to be kind of like the Festy Bestie when they go back in the house, that they're going to have to work with these 4 people in teams. That's not going to happen, but that's the kind of stuff that they're thinking about. And Terrence said, it all boils down to Turner. He said, I need to get the okay from Turner that he's in on this plan or I just can't trust it. And Joseph said, all right, well, then I'll go to talk to Turner. And Joseph starts talking to him again right after he says that. And Terrence interrupted him, cut him off in mid-sentence. And he said, like I said, I can't trust any of this until I talk to Turner. He said, that's my stance right now. That's where I stand. And just starts talking again. And Terrence said, dude, we've talked game ever since we walked out those doors to come out here. He's like, we need at least one day to not talk game so that we have time to process it in our mind, so that we have time to think about it. And if you're not careful, you're going to pooch yourself. And I said, pooch. Terrence said people are going to feel that way if they feel like they keep getting beaten down over and over and over again. So evidently these talks have been going on ever since I got out in the backyard. I heard somebody say, for God's sake, let's not have another 1 hour one-on-one with everybody today. So I guess yesterday he had an hour-long one-on-one with everybody out there. Joseph said, I've been trying to give people space, but that's a hard thing to do. He has a huge hold on people, and when I'm not talking, he runs the show. Then he says, I talked to you twice yesterday, and now. Then I have to talk to Turner, and we'll circle back. And they were all complaining that Joseph is just gaslighting everyone. But they would do the same thing if their game was at risk. I'm not going to fault Joseph for fighting hard. And he is fighting hard. I don't think it's going to do any good, but he is fighting hard. Alyssa has a one-on-one with Joseph, and he tells her that Kyle had his version of the story and that he has every incentive to lie to her. And that if there's anything that she wants to ask him, to feel free to do so. He goes into, I can answer any questions about your relationship or anything that you want to know about as far as that's concerned, because Kyle hasn't been honest with you. And then the feed's cut. And I'm like, are you serious? They didn't come back on until that conversation was over. Like, really? Button Boy is on my last nerve this week. Brittany and Michael talk, and they're talking about how hard it's going to be to have the conversation with Jasmine. Michael said she's probably going to cry, and that's going to be hard on me. And Brittany said she can't ask a lot of questions. If she does, we're just going to tell her that we can't explain now, but there will be a time that we can explain. They are banking on the fact that Kyle and Alyssa will come back, and that Kyle and Alyssa will be public enemy number 1. And then it cuts back to the backyard, and Joseph and Turner talk. And let's just say that even though we have the live feeds in the backyard, 80% of these conversations are very, very hard to hear because you have outside noises, you have planes going overhead, If they're running water in the shower, you can hear that no matter where they're at in the yard. It's just a lot of outside noise. And so I have a hard time catching some of what they're saying. Joseph tells Turner that he didn't come on the show for the money. And Joseph said, he betrayed me, dude. And I wouldn't have thought it in a million years. And it hurts. He asked Turner if money was ever a problem for him. And Turner said no. And Joseph said, me either, but I actually trust you more than I do money. So he's playing on Turner in that sense because everybody knows the house that Monty and Joseph are close. So he's kind of playing that off and saying, but I trust you more than I trust Monty. Joseph tells Turner everything that he told Terrence, and he said, I'd appreciate it if you back me up on it. He said, I'd appreciate it if you vouch for me and let him know that when I give my word that I mean it and that I will protect him and that I've always been a team player and that Kyle will not protect him. And Turner said, Turner doesn't really say a whole lot. It's facts, dude, or same, or on fire, or fire, that's fire. He doesn't really give a solid answer. He has all of his little sayings that he does. So he didn't give him an answer. Alyssa and Turner talk and compare notes on what Joseph said to each one of them. Again, it's very hard to hear them with the outside noises, and Turner didn't have his mic on for 70% of the conversation. I was wondering why I was having such difficulty hearing him. I had everything cranked up full blast, and then a little over halfway through, production is like, Turner, please put on your microphone. I'm like, well, that's why I can't hear him. Turner says that he's all in. He said, I've never been with two alliances at the same time. He said, when I give my word, that's what I mean. He said, so as far as I'm concerned, the leftovers are gone, and this is my new alliance. They talk about who they'd put up. Both of them said that they would put up Taylor and Monty and backdoor Michael. And so far, from the four that are going back into the house, Kyle, Alyssa, Terrence, and Turner, they've all said the same thing, that they would put up Monty and Taylor, and then they would backdoor Michael. Because none of them want to put Michael on the block right away because they know he's going to win the veto. But if they don't put him on the block right away, there's a chance he doesn't get pulled to play veto. And that will be crushing. Terrence, Alyssa, and Turner talk, and they come up with a plan on what everybody's going to say when they go back in. Monty, Michael, Brittany, and Taylor are not going to buy a word of this. I promise you. But they're going to try. This is what they're going to say. They're going to say that Turner and Joseph were on the block, that Joseph outed the alliance, the leftovers, to Terrence. So Terrence pulled Turner off the block and put Kyle up, so that he could see if he could get any more information. And he tells Terrence, he said, I've even got a line all in my head. I'm going to be like, I just wanted to kiss his bald head when he pulled me off the block. So we may see that on an episode. Alyssa said that Joseph's pitch is really good, but it's not realistic. You can't tell everybody, save me this week and I'll throw myself on the sword next week for you. Just give me one more week. If you're in, I think, the top 6, I could see where that would make sense, because I think once they hit 5, the top 5, they make more money. So I think that's like the top of what they can make while they're in there. So everybody wants to win the game, of course, but they want at least to get down to that final 5. So I can see somebody saying, take me to the final 5 and vote me out next week, and I'm fine with that. Because they're still getting paid the whole time they're in jury. They talk about Jasmine, and Terrence said, we just never really aligned. Said, she always looked at me sideways unless she wanted something from me. Alyssa said, she's just bad for my game. I love her, and she's one of my best friends in the house, but she's bad for my game. And then he goes back inside, and Jasmine's packing. And it got me to thinking, what are they going to do for the people who are outside? I guess maybe the same thing that they do for the double eviction for the second person that's voted out, where somebody will have to go in and pack all of their stuff. But even that, I think on the double eviction, they all have a bag packed for like overnight. I don't think the outsiders are even going to have that. Just a thought. Turner and Kyle are sitting outside at the back patio, and I guess Joseph was working out or something. And Turner said, I wonder if there's a camera that's following Joseph around the yard. And Kyle sarcastically said, of course, as always. Kyle is jealous of Joseph. He's very jealous of Joseph. He wanted to be the one that was playing the middle, 2 sides against the middle, but so he's very jealous of Joseph. And I've been watching Twitter feeds on and off today, and I have to say, some of these people are just downright crazy. That's the only way I know how to say it. Because of the decisions that's been made this week. They've gone from messing with Turner's girlfriend and his business to calling Terrence's wife and Terrence's cell phone. Somehow they got that number. Trying to out their personal business, marital business. I'm like, what is wrong with some of these people? Because your favorite player is getting kicked off Big Brother? I just don't understand it. I don't get it. It is a game show, a reality TV game show. Nothing is that serious to be messing with someone's wife or someone's girlfriend that they're not in the house making those decisions. Their husband and their boyfriend are. And then they use the same tactics that everybody was up in arms when these tactics were used on Taylor in the house and all the bullying that went on. And they're doing the same thing. Only doing it through Twitter. It's the same thing. It's not right. It wasn't right with Taylor. And it's not right with these house guests. They have a camera in their face 24/7. And they wait for the little bittiest thing. And they run with it. And 15 minutes later, Twitter blows up. I don't understand it. I will never understand it. And what's going to end up happening is it's going to get people to not even want to go on the show because they're getting canceled afterwards for anything. Sorry, my little rant's over on that. When I saw some of that stuff today, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The name of the new alliance for Kyle, Turner, Alyssa, and Terrence is the After Party. Alright, so then we get to the episode for tonight. There was a few things that struck me very funny. Now, a lot of this I hadn't seen because the feeds have been off in the backyard. So I had no idea, just like you guys, what's going on. I was very excited to watch tonight's episode. And I had a few takeaways from it. I was really surprised to see Turner say that he would cut Joseph so easily. I would have thought that he would have bucked that a little bit more. But in all fairness, he is closer to Kyle and Alyssa. I don't know why. I just thought that he would have Joseph's back a little bit more than what he did. Or that what they made it seem like he did. And another thing. When Brittany won the veto Saturday, everybody on Twitter, Michael gave it to her. Michael gave it to her. Michael gave it to her. The feeds came back on. Michael gave it to her. He threw it to her. He did not throw the competition to her. She played that comp and she beat him in that comp. Fair and square. They were like, what, 5 points apiece, or 5 numbers apart? Like, I think he said, I don't know what the exact numbers were, but like 780 and she said 785 and she had it right, or vice versa, whatever it was. But they were only 5 numbers apart and Brittany beat him. He did not give that to her. And another thing that I found hilarious was Jasmine's edit tonight. Did y'all notice the difference between the way she talked in the DR and then when it went right to her talking to Brittany about the veto in the room? They went from the DR to that scene. And you could clearly hear that that's not the way she talks. I've known that. Live feeders have known that. You guys have known that for a while. But it was funny to me to actually see it on the TV, that clear cut. And to know that even the casuals are getting to see what we've been talking about for 2 months. And Michael set up Kyle perfectly. I'm sorry that Joseph has to be the expense of that and Joseph has to go home. But Michael has set up Kyle perfectly. When he comes back in that house with Alyssa, unless they win, they're going to be on the block. I guarantee you. Unless they can pull some magic, win HOH, and then I think Michael might be in trouble this week. The outsiders did have a different competition than what the insiders had. And I have to say that's the cheesiest comp I've ever seen in my life. I guess it fit in with what they were going for with the Dyer Fest and all the camping and all that stuff. But that was the cheesiest comp I've ever seen. And Turner had me rolling when he said that the seven stages of grief had set in. I told you guys yesterday, he did not look happy in that backyard at all. And then Terrence stirring the pot. I thought all this time, and I told you guys, I thought that this is something that Kyle and him concocted so that he would have a good cover story when he went back in the house. But it wasn't. This was all Terrence. All to just stir the pot. And when he come out and told Joseph, why are you protecting him when he wants to send you home? I like to fell out of my chair. We knew that Joseph knew because I saw it on the feeds yesterday. But actually seeing how that came about, I was floored. Jasmine finally has her one-on-one. Or should I say 3-on-1. Brittany and Taylor and Michael decided that it would be better to talk to Jasmine all together so that they can explain to her why they were leaning towards sending her home this week. Let's be real. They were letting her know she's going home without saying it. But they decided that the 3 of them would talk to her together because they all have different things. And they didn't want to come at her as accusatory. But they wanted to say, look, this is the reason, this, and this. So they all go in the bubble room. And she starts out with, Monty's a huge target. I wasn't coming for you. I've played this game honestly. Monty's a big physical threat. I'm hurt. I can't compete. So I'm not a physical threat. Brittany brings up the first fact, which was that Turner told her that Jasmine was going to target her. Now, in their conversation the other day, Jasmine told her the same conversation, but flipped it around and said that it was Turner that said it. Was it? I don't know. I didn't see the conversation. So I can't say for sure which is truth or which is a lie. She doubles down and lies and says she would never target Brittany, that she's always had Brittany's back. We know that not to be true. She talked about Brittany behind her back all the time, called her a liar, didn't want to talk when she was in the same room, talked about targeting her. So that's not flying. She lied about the 5 swatters. When asked about that, they asked her who was in the alliance. And she said, well, Joseph told me that it was Kyle, Joseph, Alyssa, Andy, and Monty. We threw Monty right under the bus. And Brittany, this whole time this is going on, I swear it reminded me of being younger and, you know, your mother just caught you in a lie. And you're doubling down and you're sticking with it. And she's just like, no, we know that's not true. That was the vibe that they were giving in there. And oh my God, I just said vibe. I can't believe that. Oh, that word, I don't know why. It's just used so much this season. And I was like, it drives me crazy. And I just said it. Ah. Anyway. So Brittany says that's not true. Jasmine goes on to say how Kyle started it and that he came to her and asked her to be in it, but she told him no, she wasn't doing that. Well, that's number one rule of Big Brother. Somebody offers you an alliance, you don't turn them down. You may not be for real with them, but you're not going to turn them down and say, no, I don't think I'll take your alliance. It doesn't happen. But she threw Alyssa right under the bus. She put Alyssa in that alliance. And Brittany says, Jasmine, we know that's not true. We know that Kyle did not start that alliance. She said, and we've known about it for weeks. And she says, well, I don't know who started it then. I didn't start it. She said, Kyle came to her. That's all I know is Kyle came to me about it. That's all I know. And then she slipped up and said, we were all back here and it was something to help Kyle. It wasn't something I brought up. She said, yeah, I helped with the name to be funny, but it wasn't something I started. So they asked her then if that was all. And she said, well, you know, girls, you know about that. And Brittany said, well, yeah, I know about that because I was supposed to be a part of that. She's like, but was there anything else? And she's like, no. And Taylor said, well, what about old school? I'm going to tell you, she was cornered. They came at her with everything they had. And it wasn't accusatory. It was just like, this is why. We're trying to explain to you why we're not voting for you to stay. And Taylor said, well, what about old school? And she says, I wasn't a part of that either. And they're like, Jasmine, we know you were a part of it. No. I might have been in the room when they were talking, but I wasn't a part of it. So then they asked her about a final two, if she had a final two with Alyssa. She said no. And I guess at some point somebody told them that Alyssa and Jasmine had a final two. I don't think they did. I know that Alyssa's final two was with Indy, I believe. I may be wrong. And Michael said, well, do you understand why it's hard to believe you when you tell us, I've always had your back, I've always got your back, I got your back, but yet you're in all these other alliances that don't include us, and you're going to put those people first before you put us. Jocelyn, yeah, I can understand that. And she immediately turns to Brittany. And I think that she thought out of the three that were in the room that Brittany would be the most submissive. because Brittany doesn't do confrontation well. So she turns to Brittany and she says, I could tell that you just didn't want to have conversations with me. When I tried to talk to you, you wouldn't even look at me. You would look around the room like you were disengaged. So I just figured, oh, well, she doesn't want to talk to me. And Brittany said, yeah, that's after I found out that you tried to flip the Daniel vote and that you were going to do a rogue vote and blame it on me. Jasmine doubled down again. I have no idea what you're talking about. What? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I never did that. She starts in and says, well, you know, I didn't tell y'all about a lot of this stuff because Kyle told me that you, Brittany, and Michael had a final 2 and that Taylor had a final 3 with y'all. I just didn't feel comfortable telling you some things. And she just kept saying every time they caught her in a lie. She just kept saying, y'all will see. Y'all will see when y'all watch it back. Y'all will see. They're going to see a whole lot more. Taylor watches it back, and she's going to be hurt all over again. Because she's already hurt by the fact that she was ostracized from the group. And she heard a few things that were said about her. But she has no idea the extent of the mean girl, just personal attacks that were made on her character. She doesn't have a clue. So I think if she watches the season back, not the season because they're not going to show it. If she watches the live feeds, she's going to realize just how mean and hateful they were. Which, honestly, just me as a viewer, I love it that Brittany and Taylor are the ones sending her out. Because she was so mean and nasty to them. She asked if any of the people that was bringing stuff back to them was Alyssa. And they said, yeah. And Brittany said, but to be fair, it wasn't just Alyssa. It was a whole lot of people bringing stuff back to me. And Taylor said, and me too. And Jasmine said, I don't give a damn about them, but it hurts if it was Alyssa, that it was Alyssa. And Taylor said, well, just to be fair, it was after she had had a few glasses of wine one night. So it wasn't like she just offered the information up. She let it slip. Which is not a lie. She did let it slip to Kyle. And when they went in there in the bubble room to talk, there was a bunch of stuff laid out on Alyssa's bed that Jasmine had left for her. A sweater and some perfume and some other stuff. So I don't know if she'll still leave it there for Alyssa now that she feels like Alyssa turned her back on her. She starts crying and honestly did feel bad for her. She starts crying and says that she's done a good job in the game and she feels like she's made her dad proud. And she was crying and just kept saying, you know, I think I've done good and this has always been a dream with my dad and yada, yada, yada. And in the middle of her crying, she said, just don't let Turner win. And of course, they all started laughing and like, okay, well, we'll do our best at that. And she told them that she appreciated them being honest with her, and that she already knew. You know, she knew when the teams were picked. That she was proud of each and every one of them, and she'd be rooting for them, and she couldn't wait to get to the jury house to tell the jury how good of players they were. And so she ended up pulling herself together. And I think she was appreciative that they didn't just blindside her on Thursday. So that's a plus. As far as jury's management, I think, yeah, she's I don't know. I thought a lot of these players would get out and see what they did to Taylor and be, like, apologetic. But the ones that are not in the jury that have left, they've just doubled down since they've been on the outside. And it's all Taylor's fault, and Taylor was the bully. And just outline just BS all around. But I'm hoping that she really does watch it back and see some of the things that she said and how hurtful that they could be. But she ends the conversation with, I can tell y'all that Alyssa does have a final two, but it's not with me. And y'all can guess who it is. And it's probably not somebody y'all would expect, or you might expect it, but she does have a final two. She was referring to Turner. I thought at first she was talking about Kyle, but the more she went on, I could tell she was talking about Turner. And I don't think they have a final two. Whew, that was a lot. That's all I have for you guys tonight. This video is going to be posted early in the morning. Maybe before midnight if I can get it up. I don't know that I'll come back on before the live show tomorrow. I'll see how the morning goes. But I think that pretty much all of the conversations that needed to be had have been had. I think Joseph's still going to try to have a few more conversations tomorrow. I don't expect that he would say anything different than what he's been saying. I don't expect that any of their minds are going to be changed. I think Joseph's still going to be the one going home from the outsiders. Jasmine's going to be the one going from the insiders. So I don't think there's really going to be a whole lot of game talk tomorrow or anything breaking that I'm going to need to get on here for. Another note. Somebody asked me today about Instagram and posting reels and all this stuff. I have no idea about any of that. I've just started my YouTube channel 9 months ago. And for me to already be monetized just shows me how much you guys rock. Number one, because I can't do it without you. But I'm not into all the Instagram and Snapchat and all that other stuff. I kind of play a little bit with Twitter. But you can bet that if the feeds are on, that I'm watching. I don't think that you can actually post those clips legally without getting a copyright violation. So I'm probably not going to be doing that. I check my comments all the time. So if you guys wanted to get my attention or to make sure that I'm seeing something, you can always do it through YouTube comments. I'm there all the time. As long as Big Brother's on, I do not have a life outside this computer. So, and it was like that before I started filming this. So now I have to write the stuff down. Before I would just watch it. But I'm aware of it. And somebody else asked me about live chats. I believe that the chats are only if you're doing a live show, not for a recorded show. I think that's what the comments are for. I am going to check into that some more, so if anybody knows anything or wants to give me any advice on that, it would be much appreciated. I will see you guys tomorrow after the HOH has been shown, whether we get to see it on the live feeds or they just come back up. But I will have a video shortly after, because tomorrow's episode is going to be crazy. I'm going to have something to say about that. So I will have a video after I find out who wins the HOH tomorrow night and post it. Until then, you guys have a great night, great day tomorrow, happy eviction day tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys later. As always, much love.